Skip, do you want to go ahead and swear those of us that need to be sworn in prior to, as long as David's not here and he use the time usefully?
Absolutely. Okay. So, Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I have news from the King County Auditors and Elections Division. They have notified the Public Hospital District number 4 of King County that Daryl Norris was elected to the office of Commissioner position number 2 by a majority votes, and that is on now official records of the King County on file, and the office is for a 6-year term. And shortly I will have you take the oath of office so that you may conduct business. I've also been informed that Kevin J. Howley was elected to the office of Public Hospital District number 4, Commissioner position number 5, as appearing in the official records, now on file, and that is in the office for an unexpired 2-year term. And further, I have been informed by the Auditor's Office and Elections Divisions of King County that Commissioner for Public Hospital District number 4, Jen Carter, who's already been sworn in, I'm going to swear her in again, this will be a double swearing for her. Hospital District number 4, Commissioner position number 4, on file and on record with King County for an office for a 6-year term. So with that, I would like those 3 individuals as previously identified to please rise and raise their right hands. And would you please repeat after me? First, your name. I, and state your name.
I, Jen Carter,
having duly been elected, do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Washington
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington
and all local ordinances, and that I will faithfully and impartially perform and discharge the duties of the office of Public Hospital District number 4 according to the laws and to the best of my ability. Based on that oath, you are now sworn in. You may conduct business, and congratulations. I'm going to give you each an oath that you will sign, and we will send over to King County. You will be able to keep the nice blue certificate, which underneath you will find from King County the actual certificate.
I like the county wants me signed.
So I'm going to retrieve your signed and notarized oaths of office. Madam President, you'll need to sign that and make that official. And you get to keep the nice fancy certificate there from King County. Having been duly sworn, taking your oaths of office, you may now conduct business as elected commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, I call to order on this Thursday, January 9th, 2020, at 6:42. That's Public Hospital District number 4 Board of Commissioners regular meeting. It is January 9th, 2020 at 6:42. And we have the flag salute, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
President Morris?
Here.
Vice
President Karen.
Here.
Secretary Spikers. Austin, have not heard from him. Commissioner Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Howard.
Here.
Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Are there any changes or anything you want to add to that? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that is approved. Election of officers. And I believe our clerk will help with this. Do you just take over at this point? Okay, you're taking. Thank you, President Carter. As the clerk to the board, I am duty bound in the nomination and election of the president of the board. These duties are outlined in Article 2, Section 2 of your bylaws. Your bylaws provide that the current vice president, Anna Herron, is nominated for the position of the president of the board. I will remind the board that nominations do not require a second, and commissioners may nominate themselves. Having acknowledged the nomination of Vice President Herron, I now open and call for any other nominations for the office of president. Are there any nominations for the office of president of the board? Not hearing any, the nominations are now closed. The voting will now take place in the order of the nominations being made, of which there is only one, obviously. Commissioners will vote by roll call. If the nominee receives a majority vote, which is 3 affirmative votes, that nominee is elected as your president. So I will now do that roll call vote. Commissioner Norris. Yes. Commissioner Herron.
Yes.
Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Having received the required 3 affirmative votes of the board, Commissioner Herron, you are elected as the board president, and I turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you.
Would you like to change positions?
Madam President, if I might, why
Yes.
don't we wait till the other elections are done?
Okay.
And we can do the changing of the positions only once.
That sounds like a great idea. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to open the nominations for, I'll start with Vice President and then the Secretary. Do I hear any nominations for Vice President?
I nominate myself for Vice President.
I nominate Daryl Norris for Vice President.
I would, no, actually, procedurally, we have 2,
Yeah,
and so are we
you're not
done now? Now we do a vote?
tiebreaker.
No, actually, you continue to do that until there are no more nominations. And at that time, then, the president closes the nominations, and you follow the same procedure that your clerk just did. And you would call it the name that they were nominated, and once a person receives 3 affirmative votes, that person is elected. So the president now serving, Ms. Herron, President Herron, if you don't hear any more nominations, you close the nominations.
Do I hear any more nominations?
You close it.
I now close the nominations.
And now you call for the vote, the roll call vote. You can use the assistance of your clerk if you'd like, as to those nominations in the order they were nominated. That would be Commissioner Carter and then Commissioner Norris. Just ask your clerk to call the roll.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
All right. Commissioner Norris?
You're voting on the first nominee. There must be 3 affirmative votes. If not, you go to the next nominee. And if not, then you start over.
And Jen would have been the first.
The first,
nominee.
yeah,
The first
Commissioner
nominee,
Carter
voting
is
on
the first.
Commissioner Carter.
No, Commissioner Norris. Commissioner Herron?
No.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Now move to the next nominee because there was not 3 affirmative votes. And so the next nominee is Commissioner Norris. And the clerk will call the roll again.
Okay. Commissioner Norris, this is my vote again. This is
So it's your vote for this nominee.
Yeah.
okay. That's nominee.
Oh, yes,
Commissioner Herron,
yes.
Commissioner Carter,
No.
Commissioner Howard.
No.
You now then would open up the nominations again because you did not have a nominee receive 3 affirmative votes. So the president would then call for nominations again.
Okay.
You're opening the floor for nominations for vice president.
So there is no tiebreaker at all, huh?
There is no tiebreaker, though.
Not this.
Fortunately, your bylaws don't allow for it.
I know,
Do it
that's,
again.
yeah, that's a good one for,
So you open it up. for
I'll
nominations.
open up the nomination again for vice president. Any nominations?
Madam President, you need to be acknowledged, Commissioner Carter. I don't think you saw.
I'm sorry, yes.
I nominate myself.
Okay. I nominate for vice president, Daryl Norris.
You could.
Will we postpone the vote?
There's no provision within your bylaws to
Yeah.
postpone the voting.
We don't have any. That makes, we'll have to look at the bylaws
You'll
next
continue
time.
to do this according to the bylaws.
Oh, my.
Someone gets 3 affirmative.
Yeah.
Or
Have we reached out to Commissioner Spikers yet? Is he?
Should we reach out? Oh, good. That'd be good. That's good. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. She's contacting Commissioner Spikers. That would be a good title. One wants to be the secretary, huh? You don't have to do much.
Specifically, Madam President, the bylaws do read, no further votes will be taken on the remaining nominees. If none of the nominees receive a majority vote, the clerk will call for nominations again and repeat the process until a single candidate receives a majority vote.
Yes.
And the president is doing the same process for the vice president, doing the same for the secretary. So at this point, you have 2 nominees again.
Yes.
And you must then vote.
Call for the vote.
And you'll have your clerk
Okay.
take the vote for the first
Madam
nominee.
Clerk, please.
First nominee was Jen Carter.
Would you please call the vote?
Commissioner Norris,
No.
Commissioner Herron.
Not for you. You're not voting for yourself.
It wasn't for me, it was for Jen.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
first nominee.
Excuse me. No?
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
yes.
Again, not receiving 3 affirmative votes, you'll move on to the second nominee. The second nominee for vice president is Commissioner Norris.
I open the nomination again for,
No, you don't open up for the vote.
no?
She's already been nominated.
All right.
So,
And the vote?
clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Norris? No. For me or for Jen? This is for you.
For you now.
Oh, yes. Commissioner Herron?
Yes.
Yes. Commissioner Carter?
No.
Commissioner Howard.
No.
Not receiving affirmative 3 votes, a majority, then
Wow.
the nominations will then be opened again. And so, Madam President, you need to open the
Commissioner Spikers,
nomination for vice
has he
president
responded?
again.
Is there opportunity
Commissioner
for,
Spikers hasn't responded?
Madam President?
Yes.
Is it, can we open this up for a little discussion, perhaps? Is that possible?
Yes. It's not on the bylaws, but I think it is
Bylaws don't
advisable.
preclude discussion, and right now there's no
Yeah.
nominees.
Right.
And the president, at her discretion, could open it for discussion.
Yes. I'd like to open it for discussion.
Very good. Then, as far as clarifications of roles, the acting secretary of the board duties are what?
The secretary or the vice president?
The secretary.
The secretary's duties shall prepare and cause to be prepared minutes of all regular and special meetings of the board, sign the same, shall keep or cause them to be kept in a proper book for that purpose. Such records will be open to the public. In the absence of the president, the vice president shall preside at the board meeting. That's what's listed under section 2.2 of your bylaw as to the duties of the secretary.
Any other?
My thought would be is that either Dario or Jen would
They need to discuss.
have a discussion amongst themselves and make a decision as to what, because we're at the impasse. We're sitting here all evening.
Would both candidates for vice president discuss this among themselves? If you do, would you be able to step outside to discuss this rather than in the open?
No, this is an open public meeting. You
I
can't
saw.
step outside
Apologize.
and,
Okay.
negotiate.
Or simply discuss. Or simply discuss.
Okay, well, let's discuss. And I'd like to recognize Dario to say a few words as to why.
Why?
I'm the vice president board, and that would go for you as well, Commissioner Parker.
Why? I guess because I've had experience here doing this. I've been in the community a long time, including with the network, Snoqualmie Valley Community Network. I helped with baseball or the soccer fields in Preston, and I have a heart passion for this community. After living here 45 years, and watching us go from NAMS to one hospital building to this hospital building, I think I have a good background in what the community wants and about where we live, and I'm connected to the community.
And I can explain my rationale. The rationale for my vote for Commissioner Norris is that one of my main objectives, because I know that we're going to be moving on, working towards community population health, and that is something that Commissioner Norris and I have discussed so many times, and we are looking forward to working with a community that we've lived there for many years, and we know this community very well. And that doesn't discount Commissioner Parker. I know you will do well.
Carter.
Oh, Carter, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Tom Parker. Commissioner Carter. I'm not discounting that you don't know this community, but I believe that because of the major task that is embedded for our district, we really need to be very visible and and I know you are doing your best to do the same. And so that's one of my rationale for voting for Commissioner Norris, to continue that legacy of working together, making sure that we make it happen, to deliver all the quality of health and deliver the system that needs to be to produce positive results. Thank you.
So I wanted to run for vice president. But before I do that, I want to thank Commissioner Norris for her service to the community and the service to this board. You've been on this board a long time, and you have a lot of institutional knowledge, and it's very, very clear to everyone that your heart is in it more than anything else, and that you are dedicated, and that you love your community, and that you've been very active in your community for a long time. You are just finishing up a term as president, and I joined this board as someone that's newer to the community, that's right, and I would like to bring some of that newer energy and perhaps fresher perspectives to the office of vice president, hoping that one day I could be president of the board. I have been in healthcare technology innovation for my entire career, for 20 years, and we are in a dramatic period of change in this hospital right now. And I do hospital innovation for a living. I feel that I have a lot to contribute. I would like a turn. Also, sorry, 2 things I forgot to add. I'm now an active member of the Chamber of Commerce. I show up at all of those meetings. I can bring all of that back now if you're talking about community visibility. And also, we brought the hospital to the Boy Scout troop. And that was a connection that I was able to help facilitate. I am a member of this community, perhaps the younger members of this community, but I think the people we're trying to tap into are the younger families and the students, and maybe the young athletes that are going to need, help with injuries and such. That's a community that I'm an active part of, and a community that I've already shown results in the 6 months, 4 months, however long I've been involved here. That's already happened. So, I would like to continue to do that.
Okay, Commissioner Hagley?
Thank you. My perspective is, I like the rotation of the board for different positions. And I just to clarify, Dario, you've been president, you've been other seats as well, vice president, secretary? No, president. Boom. Okay. And Jen, I don't know if you've been any board or any of the officer positions?
No.
Okay. I think it's healthy for the board to rotate positions, and that's simply non-biased at all, other than to say that. I think it's healthy in that context. I, for 9 years, served on every committee there was in the hospital district. And I think when I left, I was vice president, if I remember correctly. My perspective was simply fresh blood, fresh perspective. The role of all of you. It's a shame that Mr. Spectors is not here this evening. Because what I was hoping was that one of these two fine ladies would suggest that, well, I'll be the secretary, or that comes up next, and you have to go on faith, I guess. But one of you would take that position, and one would be vice president. But that was my perspective. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, for everyone's sake, we got news that Commissioner Spikers is on his way. He's coming. So that would hopefully.
He's feeling bad.
Oh, you forgot about it?
No. I was not feeling well and laid down, and it's Andy was 6:45. I'll be there now.
So 15 minutes. How do we handle this, council?
Well, I can only advise you what is occurring. Someone could take a motion to take a recess for a period of time. That's a non-debatable motion. You would just vote on it, whether you want to stand in recess for 10 to 15 minutes.
Is there a motion to take a recess?
Can we instead take a motion to move on to the next item of the agenda?
No.
You're on this item now. I guess you could table this and bring it back off the table. You'd be without a vice president, and table it so you could move on to the next agenda item.
I'd like to make a motion to table this portion of the agenda until Commissioner Spikers comes and move on to whatever's next, and then come back to it.
It doesn't need to be.
Well, yeah, if you're going to table it and move on to the agenda and come back later in the meeting.
Don't need a
The
second.
next, I'm looking at the next item, that would be committee appointments on your agenda. I'm not sure you want to move committee appointments.
That's
Until you
going
know
to
who
be.
your officers are, but you could. The president makes those committee appointments, and you do have a president now.
Okay.
I'd like to withdraw that motion and make a new motion. Is that okay, Madam President?
Okay, you may.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this item on the agenda, that we also table the committee appointments, and move on to the communications portion of the agenda until Commissioner Spikers comes back, then we'll go back.
There's a motion, and we need a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Further discussion? Should we table election of vice president and committee appointments? I'd like to call the vote. Madam Clerk, would you please?
You would be a roll call, you can just ask.
No?
All those in favor.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. All right, we will
You're
table
now on
this.
communications. And that would be you first.
Okay, my communications. Really, I don't have a all I wanted to share with you that January 17th, this is my communication, just to let everyone be aware of there might be a few changes, of course, but we were discussing scheduling. So I think when we're in medical committee, we'll talk about it. So I wanted to let everyone know that I'll be away out of the country from January 17th through January 30th on a medical mission to the Philippines. And then on February 1st, from Manila, I'm flying to go from Manila to Seoul. I fly to Manila to Seoul to attend a World Peace Summit. And that is
From the 1st to the
1st to the 8th. I'll be back. 1st to the 7th. I'll be back, yeah.
So give the dates again from when to when?
January 17th to the 30th is the Philippine mission, medical mission, and then from February 1st to the 7th is the World Peace Summit that I will be attending. And there are 3,000 from all over the world, parliamentarians, prime ministers, head of states that will be part of this summit. And the U.S. is sending 300 delegates. So it'll be a very interesting summit, especially in the condition where our country is right now. I think it's very critical that we hear further developments on how we can achieve peace for the world, the global world. So that's my communication. Other than that, I don't have anything. Thank you. And now I want to communication from our superintendent report.
Right, we have a written report with some bullet points on it in your packet. I'll read through it and add some additional commentary. So a Happy New Year to start off with. 2020, as I sit and think about it, I think it's really going to be a monumental year for us. We just think about what's already in front of us. We know that affiliation is coming about. We're going to have full implementation of new service lines that have created a lot of excitement within the organization that were launched in 2019, but they're still definitely in early growth phase, so we'll see them come to full fruition. And there may possibly be some implementation of some other new service lines that are still in their early construction and development phase, so more to come on that. So again, really looking forward to what I think will be just another exciting year, possibly full of firsts. We did receive a thank you note this month. I try and bring this to you. This one is from the Snoqualmie Valley Rotary. It's brief. Thank you so much for participating in our Snoqualmie Valley Rotary Coat Drive. With your help, we were able to join with the Kiwanis Toy Drive and assist over 400 families, provide a wonderful holiday for their children and themselves. We appreciate your partnership in these projects so much and hope to have you join us again next year. So that was from Nancy Whitaker, which many of you know. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So
Is it a Kiwanis or the Valley Rotary?
Rotary. The gift was from Rotary.
Oh, I see.
They joined with Kiwanis.
Yeah.
For some of the activities. Yeah. And just as a reminder, one of the
I know
things we
Nancy.
did over the holidays was we constructed the cards that was sent out to quite a few of our seniors, our patients who are seniors and living alone.
Nice.
So that was a project we had as part of our Chamber of Commerce open house event. Affiliation update, as you all well know, we didn't have our work study this afternoon because we didn't have anything really to go over that was new. But we did have the messages that we had constructed from the December work study. Those have been delivered to Overlake and to their legal counsel, and they seem to have been well received. So now we're just waiting for a revised version of the agreement. So we'll join back together as soon as that's in hand.
Okay.
Just moving forward. Because I had kind of a light agenda tonight as far as my report, I wanted to give you an update on EHN, Eastside Health Network. So that's the clinically integrated network that we're a part of that involves almost all, a huge majority of the clinicians on the east side. So through the 405 corridor and out to us. So 2019 for EHN really had some significant growth. So they are now at 58,000 covered lives within the clinically integrated network, and quite a few incentive contracts that live under that umbrella as well. So 4 of them are Med Advantage, so Medicare Advantage products. There is the Microsoft Health Connect product, which is a highly innovative product that is direct to the employer. And so that's generating a lot of excitement, and quite a few other companies on the east side are interested in setting the same thing up. So again, and us being a veteran community for a lot of the businesses on the east side, that's why we're so sensitive to this. And then most of the other major commercial carriers also have incentive contracts that work through EHN. To date, the Cigna contract is the one that's been the most lucrative as far as payout so far, and at the end of the first year of the contract, there are already dollars coming in. So the group successes, so the measurement of performance, and performances is quality measures as well as cost effectiveness. And so we've been exceeding, as a group, exceeding the market by about 4% and 100% score on all of our quality measures. So that resulted in a 250% increase in our patient management fees, and that's a fee that comes to us on a monthly basis based on the number of lives that are covered within our network. And then there's expected to be additional payout in the next couple of months for performance over the year. And so these have been ongoing conversations that we've had as a group dating back quite a while, 5 years or more, that we've been talking about these type of approaches, doing incentive contracts, entering into risk contracts. EHN really is unsure when they're ready to enter into risk contracts, but that's next. That's how you mature, is going into that next. So very much a part of that. So moving on to the next, every year we do an annual report, and so the 2019 annual report, I'll begin constructing that later this month with a goal to have that done by the end of February. As you'll recall from having that report provided to you in years past, that is one of the requirements of a critical access hospital. As you produce an annual report, it's just really a great opportunity to look at the year in total, look at it in a lot of different perspectives, document how experiences and performances in the year informs the year to come, and an opportunity to really look at the touch points with the community over the year. So you'll get a copy of that when it's done. And then from a clinical perspective, I really do want to highlight that our community, like the rest of the country and the rest of our state, are really suffering from the current influenza outbreak. As here in our midst can talk about just coming over the illness. Sounds like Dave's coming in, feeling horribly, but coming in anyway. So our community and some of our staff are also continuing to experience that. So we really continue to focus on getting those who are unimmunized immunized. This is unlikely to be the only wave of influenza that we experience. It tends to come later as well. We'll see what happens. We're using our social media platforms as a way to remind everybody to come in and get their flu vaccines, and we contributed to an article in Living Snoqualmie. Just to get the word out. The most recent report out is from week 52, so that's how the reports are done, so that very last week of December. And at that point in time, there's been 19 deaths in the state of Washington directly attributable to influenza, and 2 of those were children. So again, just really calling out the importance of this for something that is so preventable. So our positivity rate for our testing right now is at 15.4%. That means 15% of all those that we test are turning out to be positive. The state reference point is about 20%. So, it just means we're like everybody else, a little better, but we're like everybody else. So I will leave you with that.
Okay, are there any questions on our superintendent's report? All right, hearing none, we can move on to our board education. I'd like to call on our legal counsel.
Thank you, Madam President. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
As we step back in time to one of the early provisions within Robert's Rules, they talk about rules of an assembly or organization, which you are experiencing tonight as you work through your new officers and your new appointments to chairs. So what Robert said about this is that an organized society requires certain rules to establish its basic structure and manner of operation. You all know that. In addition, there is a need for formally adopted rules and procedures arising in any assembly, principally because there may be a disagreement or a lack of understanding as to what is parliamentary law regarding points that can affect the outcome of substantive issues. Experience has shown that some of the rules of a society should be made more difficult to change or suspend. And in fact, if you wanted to change your bylaws tonight, you could not, because your bylaws specifically say under Article 9 they must be introduced at one meeting and then voted upon at the next meeting. Your rules of procedure could be changed tonight, though, because they can be changed at any time by a majority vote of the board. So Roberts was concerned about this. He further wrote and said, within this framework, under the general parliamentary law, an assembly or society is free to adopt any rules it may wish, even rules that deviate from parliamentary law, provided that in the procedure of adopting them, it conforms to parliamentary law or its own existing rules. So that's along the lines of, you can't make it up as you go along. You have to follow the rules that exist, or change the rules that exist, so that you can then make it up. The only limitations upon the rules that such a body can thus adopt arise from the rule of a parent body. You don't have a national society, but you do have state laws. Those are called RCWs, Revised Code of Washington. So there's certain things that you could not do if you wanted to, because the RCWs require you to do certain things. So the various kinds of rules which a society may formally adopt include a corporate charter, constitution, and/or bylaws. You've adopted your bylaws. In fact, you are to review your bylaws according to your bylaws every 2 years. And that will be coming up again. It's this coming year. Unfortunately, somebody's going to be appointed to the bylaws committee. Don't all look down now. It includes also standard of work on parliamentary law adopted. You have adopted in your bylaws to use Robert's Rules of Order, but to use them informally. That you only need to use those stringently if so desired. And then also any special rules of order. And you do, and have adopted last year, actually in December 2018, rules of procedure. You did not have those before, and your bylaws committee thought those would be appropriate. Your rules of procedures deal really with how the meetings are going to be run. And later this evening, you'll also experience that when we play musical chairs, because there is a rule of procedure called seating of commissioners. And that's a specific item and article as to how you must be seated according to the rules of procedure. But if you wanted to, you could change that tonight. I'm not suggesting that you do that, because we are going to implement what has been. So, in matters not governed by any adopted rule, a society may be guided by established custom, as discussed below. Well, I try to keep this to 5 minutes, and that was my directive when I started this 3 years ago. So I will not discuss what's below, because there is nothing below this evening. You'll have to wait till the next meeting. But what it does is it opens up the door to custom. If you've had a practice or a precedent or a way of doing certain things, and it doesn't violate any other bylaw or rules, you can follow your customs.
Question. Where does caucus comes in? Like when I ask if the two candidates could maybe caucus out there, but where does it come into this rules and assembly and the procedure?
Well, during a recess, you could take a recess and individuals could go talk, but during a meeting, you would not want to suggest that two individuals do, in essence, horse trading or further discussion or communicating. It doesn't appear to be transparent. It would appear to the public then that you're making some decisions behind closed doors or out of the face of the public. So the caucusing might be if you really need time to discuss or think further, table it, recess it, move it to another meeting where you need more time to consider it. So we don't actually have a caucus provision within your bylaws or rules. I'll do some more research on the parliamentary rules as to whether you can caucus or not.
Yeah, and the bigger body, the Congress and all that, they use
They go into recess
that system, that
to
method,
discuss,
and they
bring in the
caucus.
majority and minority whips
Right.
and come back with certain suggestions.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Now we move into our consent agenda. Approval of minutes. Our work study, December 9, 2019. Our regular meeting, December 19, 2019. That was rescheduled from December 12. And number 2 is physician credentialing. Do I hear a motion to consent agenda?
I would make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, the consent agenda for 1 and 2 has been now I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. I'd like to acknowledge Commissioner Spikers. I know we're both ill here for his presence, and we will now resume. Now that the consent agenda has been voted on, now we will resume on the two table topics that we need to continue. That is the election of vice president and the committee appointments, just to keep you
Okay, thank you.
abreast.
I know what it's
of-
like to be old now because you fall asleep while you're in a chair. I don't have the flu or anything like it. Just a little wore down and a cold.
It happens to the best of us.
I'll just take a 20 wink nap, you know.
I must needed it.
So,
Your excuse. Okay, to keep you abreast, that's where we are. These are the particulars.
all right, thank you.
That is the election of vice president. So far, it's a tie. So you would be the tiebreakers. Should we start for the nomination
Start over
again?
again, the process being utilized, and Secretary Speckers, I'll inform you that we did hold the election for president. Commissioner Herron is now your new president. She was elected unanimously, and now she has opened up the nominations for vice president, and we have a specific process where she will ask for all nominations. No second is required. After all nominations have been made, in order that they were nominated, the clerk will call the roll, and then we will go through that. Once one of the nominees receives 3 affirmative votes, the election is over. So with that, Madam President, I'll turn it back over to you so you can open up nominations.
Okay. Nominations open for vice president. I nominate Daryl Norris for vice president.
Do we have a second? Is that what you want?
No seconds are
Oh,
required.
okay, all right,
I
okay.
will,
You can nominate yourself, and you can.
Okay.
I'll nominate Jane Carter.
Thank you. Okay, do I hear any more nominations for vice president? Mr. Spikers, you can nominate yourself.
Oh, I don't want to be vice president. I have no nominations, no.
Okay, hearing none, the nominations is closed. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Commissioner Norris?
Yes.
Yes, the first nominee is being called for a roll call vote for the first nominee,
Okay, this is for, yes, Jan.
for Daryl Lynch.
Commissioner Herron?
Yes.
Commissioner Speckers?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
No.
Commissioner Howard?
No.
So the nominee has received 3 affirmative votes, and with 3 affirmative votes, the vice president position is now filled. Now, Madam President, you would move on to the position of secretary.
Okay, I move on to open the next position. It's for secretary. Do I hear any nomination?
I nominate Jen Carter.
I'd like to decline the nomination.
I will nominate David.
Mr. Spikers can't serve because your bylaws now preclude officers from serving more than 2 consecutive terms.
Oh, I need to use a, okay, I see. Okay. Then I guess.
Okay. I nominate Kevin Hagley.
Yeah. Are there any more nominations? I guess there isn't. I now close the nomination. Madam Clerk, would you please call for the vote?
Commissioner Herron?
Yes.
Commissioner Speckers?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Madam President, 3 affirmative votes have been achieved for the position of secretary, so you now have new officers. Based on that, officers now in their positions, I turn to the rules of procedure and inform you the proceeding of commissioners shall be as follows, in the following order. The board president, the vice president, the secretary, the commissioner with the most seniority, and then the commissioner with the least seniority. The commissioner with the most seniority may elect to yield and choose to have the member with less seniority be seated after the secretary. It should be the preference and prerogative of the senior commissioner who is not a board officer. So at this time, now you do play musical chairs, and you would seat yourself Commissioner Herron as president. Our president, vice president would be Commissioner Ariel Norris, and secretary, Commissioner Howley, you would move over where
Where do you want to sit?
Spikers
Here,
is.
you want here?
Commissioner Spikers,
I guess I go that way.
down one.
We slide down one.
Senior, you have the prerogative of either sitting there or moving to the end.
It doesn't bother, whichever you like, Jen.
Oh, let's just slide down. That's
You want to stay there, I can go wherever you want to move.
yeah, it is. Okay.
All right, okay.
And this is the way you'll sit from now on.
That's fine.
Madam Clerk, the minutes can reflect senior commissioner who is not an officer, Commissioner Spikers, has chosen to exercise his prerogative to not follow the order, and he can be seated at the end. So when you do your roll call and when you seat, this is where you're to be seated now, according to your procedures for adopted in December 20.
Good, you. Okay. All right, all set, so everybody all stabilized? I don't know if we're stabilized, but we're set.
That's for everybody. That's Val.
Okay, now we can move on to the next item that we tabled. It's the committee appointments. And we have 3 main committees according to our bylaws and 2 subset committees. So the 3 main committees are finance, medical, and facilities. Subset committee, the bylaws and quality. Bylaws, the quality meets quarterly, the 3 main committees meets monthly or as needed. The bylaws could be monthly or could be quarterly. We haven't set any on the bylaws, that's the bylaws committee. Does not have any set meetings for it. Okay, and this is how, and please let me know, for the medical committee and quality, I have Emma, the president, Commissioner Herron, and Commissioner Norris. For the finance and the bylaws, I'm sorry, let me just start with, For medical committee, Commissioner Norris and Commissioner Herron. For finance would be Commissioner Spikers and Commissioner Herron. Facilities, Commissioner Carter and Commissioner Howley. Quality, Commissioner Norris and Commissioner Carter. Bylaws, Commissioner Spikers and Commissioner Howley. Did I get everybody? So that's 2 for each committee that we have. Okay, any other discussion on it? For appointments, as chair.
So could I ask that the clerk read each of our names and tell us which committees we're on?
For committee appointments.
Yes, please.
For finance is Commissioner Spikers and Commissioner Herron. Medical, Commissioner Herron and Commissioner Norris. For facilities, it's Commissioner Carter and Commissioner Howley. For quality, it's Commissioner Norris and Commissioner Carter. And bylaws, it's Commissioner Spikers and Commissioner Howley.
Okay. Do I need to have a motion to approve or?
They're
that's it.
appointments.
Their appointments. Yeah.
And you need to appoint the chairs.
For finance, I would like to appoint Commissioner Spikers. For medical, I'd like to appoint Commissioner Norris. For quality, I'd like to appoint Commissioner Carter. For facilities, I'd like to appoint Kevin Howley. And for bylaws, I would like to appoint Commissioner Spikers. So we can move on now to our next item on the agenda, the committee reports. Finance Committee. Commissioner Spikers?
So did we go through the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. Apologize again for I have some notes. We did lose some money this month more than projected, but there's some reasons behind that. There are some reasons, I should say. Especially our outpatients, because it looks like we're down there. And we had 3 holidays, which is basically a 10% fewer days.
David, could you speak a little louder? We don't have mics or anything.
Okay, I can do that.
Just a little bit. Please.
There were 3 holidays in November, and that reduced the number of days operating by 10% in November. Normally we have 30 days, which is a shorter month. Remember, if you recall, the 30-day months we project to be right around even or below. The 31-day months, we usually make money because we have operating 1 more day. So when we combine a 30-day month with 3 holidays, Veterans Day and the Thanksgiving, we end up with fewer days by about 10%. I was looking at the sleep clinic, and we asked some questions about some of the actual expenses that were going on with the sleep clinic, because I was kind of concerned. I thought it was only $5,000. But what's happening is there is a consulting company that gathers all of the patients, and they send a tech out, and we split the fees 60-40, 60 to the hospital, 60% to the hospital, 40% to the consulting company. So they're more or less artificial costs because we're kind of sharing the fees, so to speak. There is, and I did follow up, there is a 19% margin on the sleep study, so it's a really good line, a very, very good line. And that's what I thought. We were making good money on that anyway. AR was up. I've voiced my concerns. It's sort of the 3-strike rule right now with HRG, who is our company that does the we work with accounts receivable. And we've had a long relationship with HRG, probably at least, I'm thinking, well, there was a period of time we did in-house before Steve was here. So it's been at least 10, 12 years, probably. And
we had one HRG 15 years ago that was in-house.
Right.
And we moved to them.
And there was a reason why we, So they're not doing so well. So there are some issues, and they actually have a meeting. They had a meeting with them just before our finance meeting. And as you all know, and we've talked about this in other board meetings, is if you have a late or a long, lengthy AR, you're going to have less cash every month available. And we're not in any trouble as far as cash flow or right now or anything like that. We're all meeting all of our bond requirements. But you might also know that we are investing any of our cash in very safe plans, interest rate plans, to make a little money. I think we make about $30,000 a year on our cash. So if we don't have the money sitting there, we can't make money on them. And that's kind of, it might be a few $1,000, the whole year, but it's a few $1,000s we could devote to a piece of equipment or something we need at the hospital. So we are going to be investigating that a little bit further and see what they can come up with. My understanding is that rates are going to be changing probably. There'll be some more incentives, I should say, for them, meaning higher levels to get to, like 53 is what we want for AR days, 53. That's a good number for us. And in the past board meetings we looked at each of our lines, our swing bed, our outpatient, and our clinics, and we analyzed how many days are we in AR in each one of these. And the Medicare Advantage plans, which we've been getting a lot more patients with those plans, take about 90 days turnaround to get the money. We get the same amount on Medicare, but it takes 90 days because there's more procedures. So we can't help that. There's nothing much we can do, I think, on that. But our outpatient procedures, when we're looking at the different payors, we've been looking at potentially allowing people to get access to our system to have a quicker turnaround. And we don't know if we want to do that because there's only so much money in that particular area in some of the private pays that would it be worth potentially jeopardizing the intrusiveness of having them have access to our computers and all of our data and information. So, as you know, these days, breaches are prevalent. Even the largest companies have them. The more exposure you have, the more likely you're going to have issues like that. Even though we have a great IT department and we've got great firewalls and up to date with every potential precaution that we could have for protecting any of the private information that we keep. So these are all things we talk about every couple months in the finance committee meetings. There was, let's see here, I've got another couple notes I wanted to talk about. Since we were down in I started now, Patrick's going to find out when we're way below our mark for the month of what we project. Then I start looking at certain items in these little ledgers that we get. And unfortunately, I should say, fortunately, the main reason this month, and this is why I saved this for last, is because I want you to remember what happened. In the past, we've actually done cost reports, and we've been off as much as $2 million owed, and that can be an incredible hit that would affect our bond covenant if we had something like that, or it could really throw us way off for a bad curve. So we've been doing very frequent snapshots, I should say, of our cost reports, and we found that we were off by about, it was about 280,000.
Overall, it's about
in 10 months.
Yeah, in 10 months. It's about a 300,000 swing that we had.
So, not too bad. It's only off by about 30,000 or so for the 10 months per month. I can handle that. It's the reports that come back that we're off by $2.5 million, and we have to pay them back.
Yeah.
And they want their money, and we can't be late. We start getting finance charges and everything else. So, not bad. It's actually the best I've ever seen for predicting. For all the different payer mixes and all of the different expenses and everything that we go through, it makes me believe that our financials are finally getting on a smooth track to where you can be much easier to predict things. So I'm thinking it's a good thing. It's not that bad of a thing. We're off by 300,000. It could have been much worse. So that's what we did. We did that adjustment this month, and that's why you have the hit on the bottom line of about 200,000. So that's we're hoping that. Now I asked. That was my follow-up question, because I couldn't quite follow this, because okay, so next year because of our budget, we did the budget based on the past year of expenses and how we looked at things, and so apparently this potential for 350,000 for the whole year, it could affect the budget a bit if we don't grow some more outpatient. So that could affect the budget a bit for next year. So we predicted, I thought 500,000
That's what was approved.
Yeah, our budget was a positive 500,000 approval. So if we're off by 350, you might want to expect that we won't make 500,000 unless we grow our outpatient. We may only get 150 if everything was remained equal with the same type of expenses and the same time of payers and the same type of things that we predicted. So, but just to let you know that we may not get to 500,000.
Yeah,
Just want to let everybody know ahead of time. But that's not we're still looking at in the black. So for the bottom line for the year, it's going to be awfully close whether we break even or not. Very close. December, did we had full census for December?
We were 22.
22, so
just a smidge on like 0.1 under census.
Okay.
Patient.
So it's going to be pretty close. We did have 31 days in December, so we had one extra day there. There was some early flu.
ER was up.
ER.
Yes.
So that there's a lot of ancillary services connected to ER. And so I'm just kind of giving you just the stuff that you can understand as a board, so that you know what's going on from the big picture. But if you have other questions in particular, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And with that, I've asked to approve the warrants for $2,829,839.52.
I make a motion that we approve the warrants.
And a second?
I'll second if she doesn't.
I second.
Oh, okay.
Are there any discussion? Hearing none, the bill warrants has been approved. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Next on the committee reports is the medical committee. Commissioner Carter, please.
Hey. All right. Sorry, I've got a handful of copies of the notes here. So, medical committee. We received the community health needs assessment, and we're going to go over that with the group at the end of the month, pending the affiliation definitive agreement. But if we are not ready to discuss that at that time, then we're going to talk about the community needs health assessment, which is in our hands. Dr. Whitcop already talked about flu. Please tell your loved ones to get their flu shots. There was a little bit less going on this month just due to the holidays community-wide. Okay. System-wide, we've got our MIPS and our meaningful use reporting season is coming up. Should be fine. We plan on meeting all of our requirements. There's been a lot in the news about medical device cybersecurity. And when you talk about a medical device, it's not your medical record. It's, you know, like your blood pressure monitor or your IV computer thing. We have intentionally decided to not connect those to the internet. They are not wireless. They're not plugged in. Thus, they cannot be hacked, just like Battlestar Galactica.
Can I address that a little bit?
Yeah.
The reason they're hacked is they go, what helps them to hack or what they're looking for is Social Security numbers. So, and that was an issue 2 or 3 years ago, and it seems to be coming up again. But it has to do that when you have patients, they have certain information on those machines, and that's what they're hacking for.
We're not using SSN for MRN.
No, for medical devices, they're usually hacking them for malicious. Yeah, they're just being
Malicious?
Yeah, there's no patient information, but it's a way to. So it could certainly be a way to undermine a business. You know, if you wanted to disable somebody by having a negative outcome, and a lot of publicity with it.
It's just trying to show that they can hack.
That's unfortunate. That is so unfortunate.
So at the department level, they'll be establishing some key performance indicators for 2020, just kind of formalizing some, just cultural goals that have been in place the whole time, but let's get them down on paper this time so we can measure them. Next, we are completing the transition to electronic prescribing for controlled substances. It was the retail pharmacies that weren't quite ready for that, but we are ready, and we will be doing that starting this quarter, next quarter? It's in process. Awesome. Okay.
75%.
The annual submission of the nurse staffing plan has been submitted to the Department of Health. We are fully compliant. For average daily census for inpatient swing, the budget was 22.8, and as Patrick already said, we're just a skosh under that with 22.7 for the month of December. And then we've got a developing nurse practice committee in 2020, which is going to have representation from the entire spectrum of the nursing community here in the hospital, not just management and what have you. For emergency, we had 11.5 visits per day in December. That's a 10.8 year-to-date. We've transitioned to a new telestroke video platform. It's not a new provider, it's just the technical underneath that changed, and that went well. Also, onboarding a new ED psych hold consult group. Previously, we would have to wait hours and hours and hours to get someone to free up from Fairfax. Now we've got someone that's going to come that's a little bit more local when needed. We talked earlier about combining the swing bed intake, utilization, social work, they were scattered all over the building last year. They've been moved now to a single spot. They now have a single team name. We're calling them Patient Transition Services. Okay. 2 new reference lab sites were added, and working on ongoing optimization for the process as volumes have increased. We are enjoying great success with that program and just trying to adapt as we grow. At the clinics, we're trialing the program called Commonwell at the hospital clinic. Commonwell is kind of I'm not even going to read the notes for this one. Commonwell is kind of a central hub where local medical records from different facilities get sent. You'll log into Commonwell, you'll say, I have this patient, and they will pull the records for that patient from other facilities so that you get a single longitudinal record for that individual. We are also participating in the BRE Collaborative Behavioral Health Integration Grant Project. There's a handful of medical staff credentials that we would like to get approved, or that we approved as a committee, listed here. And for other education, we reviewed our charter, and I are we going to have a motion later in the agenda or something to approve the charter? I can do that now? Oh, well, if you folks will turn the page, you'll see we've got our new charter for the medical committee.
All the 4 doctors are from Harborview. Is that right? The physician from provisional to telemedicine. They're all from Harborview, and they are all neurologists. So, yeah, stroke and neurologists. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Having just combed through this on Monday or Tuesday this week, I assure you there's nothing shocking in this charter for the medical committee of the board. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion for the board to approve the charter for the medical committee of the board.
I'll second.
Thanks. Madam President, do we have a vote?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you.
And then the question came up was for affiliation. Are there certain clinical areas that we would like to inform Overlake and say, hey, fellas and ladies, we would like to make sure that when you come on board that we are going to emphasize these other areas where we could provide more value to the community. So we, did some brainstorming ourselves, but also landed on the fact that we do have this new community health needs assessment, and that will be our North Star as we make recommendations for how to best serve our community. So once we crack that one open on the 22nd of January, we will have more concrete ideas for recommendations that we'd like to make.
Jen, what year is this? The 2019? Do we do it in 2019?
Yes.
So none of us have really seen it.
We haven't yet.
No, we haven't. Okay.
We are going to see it hopefully at the work study on the 22nd.
Great.
We may not, because we may be doing the definitive agreement instead, in which case we'll see it hopefully in February.
I'd like to see it.
I know we all would.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could still see it, couldn't we? I mean...
Well, I think so.
Is it done? It is done according to superintendent. Yes.
Because it might help with the affiliation process and formulating.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any more questions?
I do have one. What is a brief collaborative behavioral health integration grant? What is that all about?
I skipped over that because I can't answer that detailed question. I'll look it up later.
Well, I'm really interested because one of the things I thought that would be great is when we get into the swing of affiliation and this contract, hopefully, we can have some grant writers. So I don't know. So tell me what this is about.
So, it is not fulfilling your hopes. Because we don't have the resources for grant writers just yet, but we do participate with others. And so we're involved in a grant right now that the collaborative has written. That's not the one that we're talking about right now, but we are involved with a collaborative grant. The BRE collaborative is DSHS, so the state alcohol system. The BRE collaborative is really associated with them, and they do a lot of quality work and quality leadership to move care towards transformation towards high quality. So the BRE collaborative did a lot of work with hip replacements, done a lot of work with cardiac replacement, and now they're leading in regard to behavioral health integration into training kids. So that's something that's been high on our agenda as well, and we've got a fair amount of work going in that direction. So to participate with the BRE collaborative grant, it positions us to have a lot of those resources brought in, and what we're really looking for are tools. So this grant is for the purpose of constructing and delivering tools that will allow you to accomplish some of the integration.
Okay.
So that's the motivation for our participation. So we don't get dollars, we just get tools.
Does Overlake understand, because they'll be managing a public hospital, that they could potentially get grants?
Absolutely.
And that's a base of potential funding? Because I don't think they do much of that right now. And I'm not sure if they might do it, but they may not qualify as much.
Yeah. They do participate in some grants, but not too many, and I think mostly because it just doesn't percolate to the top as a primary source of funding for them in the same way as. Yeah, no, they are actually in tune, and they do have a grant writer on their staff. Right.
Yeah, I need to ask that question.
President Herron, I just want to clarify, it says here in these notes that the next meeting is moved to February 11. When we met earlier this week, we were going to move it to February 4. Have you had different conversations that resulted in February 11?
No, I have not.
Is that just an error here? Okay. Well, in that case, we need to correct these minutes to reflect. President Herron, am I right about that? Because I'm not even going to be there, so it's up to you and
Please make
Commissioner
sure that
Vice President Norris.
Yeah.
What?
Please make sure that you get my attention, and I can acknowledge you. Thank you.
President Herron, please figure out when the meeting is going to be, because the notes conflict.
For the next, which meeting are we talking about?
The medical committee.
That's what we did talk about. There's something to be discussed, or
The minutes that are here, needed to be corrected. So the decision that was made, that it says we got the 11th here, but it's really the 4th that was the decision that was made.
okay. All right.
That would accommodate your travel.
Yeah,
So
I think that's what, yeah. So we could reflect that correction then. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Okay, we can move on now to the Facilities Committee. Commissioner Norris.
Facilities Committee met on December 23rd. Maintenance issues, there were none reported. Facility usage, there's a list in front of you. Encompass, CarePoint Clinics, Snoqualmie Valley Rotary, Daisy Group, and Encompass Board Committee. Environment of Care, Emergency Management, working with Safety Committee in 2020. The risk assessment outcomes will be reported to the committee once they've been assessed. Fire Safety Management, last quarter there were 2 fire drills, not 1 but 2, scheduled before the end of the year. Hazardous Materials Waste Management, bioroom audit found chemo waste draining needed. Stericycle to deliver PowerPoint posters, and training was completed. It should be completed annually. Medical Equipment Management, Jen already talked about that they had addressed equipment that was out in the halls and stuff. Physical Plant, reviewing the chiller repair needs to be done, and it will be done in 2020. This is an annual review of the heating and cooling system. Patient handling, no report. Managed safety management, no report. And security management, no report. Utilities management, still working on the power quality issues. Consultant has performed his analysis and concurs with the proposed recommended solutions to add a UPS to the CT equipment to protect the software.
Have we projected costs on that?
That's just what I was looking down at Patrick when you said that. Do we have an idea about?
Karen is your contact.
Karen is the contact for this?
The current quote that we're working on is somewhere between 10 and 13,000.
Okay. I was wondering if this question. Okay. The January Facilities Committee meeting will be rescheduled to Monday, February 3rd, 2020 at 8:30 a.m. due to scheduled conflicts. And then the next meeting would be Monday, February 3rd, and it's in the East-West Conference Room. Okay. Any questions?
All right, moving along, we're on the old business, introduction and discussion, 1. New business, introduction and discussion, 1. All action required as noted. So old business, again, introduction and discussion, there's none. New business, introduction and discussion, there's none. Public comment. Please limit comments to 3 minutes.
For the record, my name is Scott Scowcroft from West Seattle. Last month, I was pleased to see that Commissioner Pollard I was pleased to see him leave without discord or rancor. Had you instead censured him, I'm confident that he would have been hurt and forever had a feeling of regret. And I know that this is something, Daryl, that you didn't want to happen on your shift or on your watch. Such a positive farewell is also consistent with what I observed as Dr. Whitcock's managerial style when I was on staff at the hospital. Those were the magical days when the hospital was being turned around from one that was badly failing to the one that you know now, which is highly respected and known for its medical excellence. But Dr. Whitcock didn't do this alone. She had help from the then CFO Don Gaylor, and of course from Val, who then, just as now, guaranteed the smooth and professional operations of the administrative offices of the district. But there was one more person without whom none of this would have been possible. Working on behalf of and at the direction of the Dick Jones Commission, Roger McCollum was the true visionary. He was courageous and entrepreneurial, and were he to have continued, I'm confident, that by now there would have already been a medical office building on campus, who knows what else, and that the district very easily might be in a far stronger position to negotiate with Overlake for affiliation. That's all water under the bridge. He saw potentials and possibilities where others didn't, and Roger McCollum brought out the best in people. It was they, the medical staff, and the other staff, who were the ones who did the heavy lifting, and it was they, one after another, who praised Roger during his going away party for their personal and professional growth. And it was they who presented Roger with a framed picture of the new hospital with the caption, "The House That Roger Built." Well, it's too late for the old board to give a farewell, I believe, to Roger that he deserved. But with the passage of time, I hope the new board will be able to begin to recognize and acknowledge the positive contributions that he made. Maybe the best way to do this is to be bold and visionary yourself. Yes, give the keys over to the hospital over to Overlake. They'll do a fine job in running the hospital. But then what? What are the potentials that the district can achieve in a post-SVH world? That is your challenge, and that is your opportunity. And because this may be the last time I am here on a regular basis, so I'm not gone forever, I have a request that these public comments be amended and put as part of the minutes for this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Scowcroft. Okay, action items to vote. I believe committee reports action required as noted. Those are action items. We did vote on them already. Okay. Now, for the good of the order, commissioner comments. Each commissioner shall have one comment period limited to 3 minutes. Commissioner Spikers?
I have one. I just want to tell the board that Patrick, in his first solo with the Finance Committee this week, I totally enjoyed working with him, and he certainly has his pulse, or his senses the pulse of this organization and knows what's going on. And I did a couple of quick questions, intricate ones, and he came up with the answers right away. So I'm really going to be happy to work with him, and I'm sure, Kevin, you will too on the committee.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Spiders. Commissioner Carter.
Thank you, President Herron. I just want to extend my congratulations to President Herron and Vice President Norris and Secretary Haugley. I'd like to thank you for your willingness to take the role of Secretary. That is very nice of you. I also want to congratulate Steve and wish him well in his retirement, and thank you for sticking around to see us through the affiliation. And thank you, Commissioner Spikers, for that great report on Patrick's job in the Finance Committee. That's awesome. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Howgrave.
Well, I would say it's an absolute honor to be here for my second meeting, and I enjoyed the political process and play here, I must say. That was an education, affirmation of the due diligence, patience of everybody. And David, thank you for waking up. No, I've always enjoyed the process. You can be on the menu or you can be making things happen here. So this is good. And Scott, I appreciate your words. It's good to be here.
I am so excited we have a
Commissioner Norris.
community assessment. I think that being able to go through that and see how we as a hospital can do things to reach out to our community, to make it a healthy community, I'm excited about being able to do that. And Jen, I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't know we'd gotten it yet. So, thanks.
Thank you all. I appreciate your vote of confidence, and my hope and my goal is that we can all continue to work together in harmony. We can always agree to disagree, and hopefully it's always for the best interest of our hospital. The first thing I'd like to resurrect is our Snoqualmie Valley Hospital Foundation, and that is something that, of course, near and dear to all of us. So hopefully that we can be successful this time around. And I want to thank everybody. Thank you for your service. CFO, outgoing CFO, Steve Daniel, and welcome again, Patrick. And thank you for your comments and your words of wisdom. We will work together and make it happen for the best, again, for the good of our community. And I always want to thank Dr. Whitcock for her guidance and her intelligence and her, I appreciate all that you do for the hospital for providing quality health care for our people. Thank you.
And we can't leave Val out.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I want to thank
Val, we all wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Val.
Of course, for all her hard work in putting together our board packet study or packet, and also our COO, Karen Jensen. And of course, I want to thank our legal counsel, Skip, for continuing to educate us on parliamentary procedures, or Robert Rules of Order. Thank you very much. Okay, next scheduled meetings, our work study will be Wednesday. This is still correct? January 22nd, and I will not be here, but I think there is. Yeah, thank you. So, affiliation work study is Thursday, February 13, 2020 at 4:30 to 6 p.m. East-West Conference Room. Monthly business meeting, which is going to be I think it's the second Thursday, February 13 as well. 2020, 6:30 p.m. East-West Conference Room. Do I hear anything else? Any other adjourn? Should we adjourn? Adjournment? Thank goodness. And adjourn. There you go.